are going forward going to have a very focused platform in that we'll have exposure here in South Africa to retail, office and industrial assets. But then in Poland, our other geography, we will have exposure to retail as well as logistics. Now in logistics, we see a lot of opportunity to expand. At the beginning of this year, we introduced an equity partner into the logistics platform. In the process, we raised 163 million euros, which is being deployed to take what was about 500,000 square meters of GLA to 1 million over the next 2 or so years. And we're well on our way to doing so. In terms of disposal activity, this year's been a very busy one, despite the interruption of COVID-19. As you know, we embarked upon a process of reducing our loan-to-value ratio last year, well before COVID, and we were very fortunate in that we were able to keep that momentum going. In the process, we've concluded transactions totaling 13.4 billion rand, of which in cash terms, 7.1 billion has already been banked. And I'm talking, these are confirmed transactions. We've got a further 6.1 billion coming through in the first half of 2021. And that's our financial year 2021, not calendar year. You'll also note that our loan-to-value improvement plan worked. However, it was negated by the impact of COVID-19 on our asset base. Our local assets were impaired by 10% as a consequence of COVID-19. And we similarly also wrote down our investment in EPP. That accounts for, if you look at it in LTV terms, we roughly had about I think it's about a 5% reduction in the, to be precise, a 5.7% reduction in the LTV as a consequence of implementing our improvement plan. However, the write-downs that we suffered as a consequence of COVID-19 on the assets wiped that out to the extent of 7.8%. So we ended our loan-to-value ratio at 47.9%. Our work is by no means done, and our priority to reduce our loan-to-value to a sub 40% level is still the case, and we've provided a very clear pathway how we're going to be achieving it by this time next year. That will involve further disposals of local properties, of which we've already made significant progress. It will be conclusion of our sale of our Australian student accommodation assets. And then we've got some expansion activity that's slightly offset that. In terms of expansion, we're still looking to expand in the logistics sector, utilizing the equity that we raised earlier on in the year from introducing an equity partner. So it's by no means incurring debt or having to raise equity. I also want to make the point that we do not contemplate raising equity as a means to cure our loan-to-value situation. What is also important is that we have a very highly engaged workforce. We are well above the local as well as the international benchmarks at 92%. What is very important, lastly but not least from my side, is that we've appointed a new Chief Financial Officer. His name is Ntobeko Nyawo. He will join us on the 1st of February. He's currently the Chief Operating Officer at Stand-Up. As a consequence, Leon will be freed up to succeed David. And as you may recall from our pre-close media conference, David agreed to, post-retirement, he agreed to stay on, for which we thank him very much, to be placing his life on hold to assist us whilst we recruited a replacement for Leon. I'm going to pause there, other than to say that the role of ESG has been elevated in every aspect of what we do. We are aligning our ESG reporting to our task force on climate-related financial disclosures, and we're very happy to report that we broke the 100 property mark from a Green Star rating point of view. We now have 101 properties that are Green Star rated.
With some of the financial headlines, as you would have seen, our full year distributable income per share has declined by close on 50% to 51.5 cents per share from the 101 cents produced last year. Now, the single biggest driver behind that is COVID-related. In the first instance, as was the case in our first half, our significant international investments, EPP and RDI at the time, withheld dividends for the full year. As a consequence, our international investments contributed actually negatively to the full year results. In addition to that, locally, our second half coincided almost squarely within the full or the hard lockdown that was announced by government in March and commenced or proceeded into April. As a consequence, we've suffered direct COVID-related costs in the form of rental relief and deferrals and discounts given to our tenants, as well as the need to increase our bad debt provisions, which in total added to just over 630 million rand. Now, between those two contributors, it significantly decimated the performance, and that was our single biggest impact on the distributable income per share. As a consequence, and also as Andrew mentioned, from a liquidity management point of view, at this point, our board has chosen to defer a decision around making a dividend. We are considering various options, and given the extension that was granted by the FSCA as well as the JSE, where they effectively granted an extension of an additional 2 months for REITs within which to pay dividends, our deadline therefore is by the end of February in 2021, and closer to the time, we will hopefully be in a position to give further clarity around exactly how we're going to deal with dividend with regards to the 2020 financial year. As far as our NAV performance is concerned, that's net asset value per share. That has similarly suffered under COVID. Our tangible net asset value per share declined by 229 cents a share. That was attributable to our local portfolio, which was roughly written down by 10%, just short of 10 billion rand, which impacted our net asset value per share by 146 cents a share. And similarly, the impairments we suffered on our international investments, which was driven in part by an impairment of the underlying investment, as well as the rand weakness that has caused the value of those assets to decline. Added to that, from a NAV point of view, we've also during the year taken the decision to fully impair our goodwill. So the upshot of this is that the asset or the net asset value number that you see now is fully represented by tangible assets. And we do believe that this now enables or sort of sets a base from which to move forward and to grow, hopefully as and when the cycle turns.